So, with the build to WrestleMania fully underway, and we are only a couple short weeks away from the main event, really, of the wrestling calendar in WrestleMania for both nights. Of course, one of the big headline matches that we're going into the event with is Jey Uso versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. And as Bragster quite rightly has done, he has yeeted for all of us. Now, there has been some complaints online, and there's been some complaints among the wrestling community about how this build's been going. And I think coming into today, before recording, we were very much worried about how things were. But with that being said, Raw happened last night, and things have been kicked up a bit of a notch, it's easy to say. You've, of course, had Jimmy Uso being brought in to the feud, which I think has helped a little bit in terms of building things and getting things started. But of course, we had last night Jimmy going into a fight with Gunther, and it went a bit crazy from there. Now, of course, no one was surprised by the outcome of the match. It was more afterwards what happened. Now, Bragster, you were actually in the building.
Yes.
So take us through A, what happened, and B, what it was like watching it live.
Jimmy got murdered. That's basically what happened. And like I had said beforehand, I think I even said it to you. I was like, I think the right thing to do is for Jimmy to sacrifice himself, get murdered, and that's what brings out the right-hand man, Jey, the better Jey Uso, not the silly one, because Jey's always been better when he's serious. And basically the match goes down. I thought the match is going to be a bit more brutal than it was, but my God, did they have something in store. Gunther kept lifting up Jimmy's head, stopping the match from being stopped, and then eventually just choked him out. Then Jey comes down for the save, helps his brother out to the ring, and being in the arena, it was really weird for the fact of, like, for everyone at home, it went to an ad break, and probably had a few things play on screen or whatever. But in the arena, it was just soaked in. There was that like 2-3 minute period of Jimmy not moving and Jey just trying to move his brother out the ring. Obviously Gunther ran away, which was very weird for Gunther to do. But then we find out later that was part of the ruse that Gunther was trying to play. And then right as they got to the ramp, Gunther attacks Jey. Security get involved. Bless the security guards. Jesus, did they take some bumps there. One of which was on the stairs, which was incredible. And then Gunther cable ties Jey to the ropes, which is, I think, a much better idea than the handcuffs. It's way more believable that a security guard would have cable ties on him, just like in general, rather than handcuffs, because he's not a policeman. So I thought that was also just kept the realism. And then Jimmy then goes to attack Gunther, gets murdered, then is just bleeding all over the place. And then when Jimmy comes back in the ring, Gunther murders him even more. And you just, in the arena, you just felt it. Like, every single, like, the fact that they let it build, that Jimmy was slowly getting taken out of the ring, then led to us all going, oh my God, when it just got worse and worse and worse. And we didn't see, like, those watching at home would have seen the blood before we would have seen it in the arena, because obviously the big screens in the arena are obviously far away. So, like, the one close-up shot that you roughly got where you could see that little bit of blood, because I went away and watched it back at home later that night just to see what the crowd reaction came across like on Netflix. And you could see that little bit, but we didn't see that until Gunther lifted his head. That's where the reaction came from us, because that's when we all saw it in the arena. We didn't see it before that. And yeah, it was just a graphic image that then just got worse and worse and worse. And to watch it then on TV, like my friend who was sat next to me, he looked online and we then saw the photo of Gunther all with the blood down him, because we could tell by the screen that he had the blood down him, but the image that the TV got was just insane.
Yeah.
And yeah, like for all my wildest dreams, I was like, Jimmy's gonna die. Like that's the whole point of, as Jimmy said, I've got you, Uso, and then went and attacked Gunther. He knew what he was getting himself in for. He knew he was gonna basically die, but he was sacrificing himself for his brother, which I think is a genius story, so well told. I did not fathom how much Jimmy would die.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it just didn't come into my mind that they would do blood that badly on normal TV. It's so rare in WWE for them to do that on normal TV. This is not pay-per-view, this is normal TV. It just is brilliant. And the arena, you could feel it. Like, yes, okay, did we chant one more time when he powerbombed Jimmy? Yes. But that's because we're all psychopaths.
Yes, I did hear that, and I thought to myself, okay, we are sadists in this arena today, apparently.
But it was one of those that actually Gunther then not going for the one more time and just going to hit him in the face turned the crowd straight back on him. Because, as wrestling fans, we like to see people get hurt. That's the whole reason why we watch it. But then to completely negate what we're saying and just go to kill him, just immediately turn the fans straight back on him, straight back to booing him, because it was like, actually, no, this is horrific. It was an incredible experience in the arena, just almost just like this dead silence at certain points where we're just watching someone get hurt, and we just like Jey, none of us could do anything. Didn't matter whether we cheered or whether we jeered Jimmy on. Jimmy was screwed. There's nothing we could have done. And that just like that feeling in the arena was just, you can't even explain it. So good.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be fair, I didn't watch it live on Netflix. I watched it a little bit after the stream had ended. And it's exactly as you said, like when Jimmy had gone back in after he got cut, you could see there was a little bit of blood initially, but that's all I thought it was. Oh, he's got a couple of drops, like, it's not that bad. But then when he gets to the middle of the ring, he's obviously then from the edge of the ring to the middle, that's when he's covered. And I think those are the two images that'll stick with me from that particular segment, is the bit when Gunther lifts his head up and you see the face covered, and then at the end when Gunther like looks at himself and then just sort of goes like that and then covers himself in the blood. It was just kind of like, that is something straight out of, I would say, 20 years ago, or maybe before the PG era really started properly. You think of all the matches where they did use blood in, and maybe like more infamous WrestleMania moments like Austin Bret Hart, when Austin's like not tapping out and he's covered in his own blood and things like that. So yeah, like again, this feud, I think it's easy to say, needed a kick up the backside, and I felt like the early parts of Jimmy coming in, it was kind of like, right, this is what can be the catalyst, but they needed something to tip it over the edge, and I think last night is the start of that. Now it'll be interesting to see how they go about it the next couple of weeks, because obviously there's got to be some sort of reaction from Jimmy. He's got to do something, not necessarily to the extent of what Gunther did, but he's got to find a way to get
Jey,
Gunther back. Yeah. What was that? Sorry.
You mean Jey, right?
Jey, sorry. Yeah. I mean, Jimmy could come back and get some revenge if he wants.
That's why I was so surprised. I was like, wait, Jimmy's coming back this early?
Triple threat: Usos versus Gunther. No, but like, if Jimmy obviously shouldn't be on camera, I think probably, unless he somehow makes a surprise appearance at Mania to help Jey out, maybe. But I would keep him off entirely.
I think I would have him at Mania. I think the first time we see him is at Mania, and I think they should do what they did with Sammy and have Jey be the what. Jey, as he's coming out, Jimmy then goes up to him and goes, "You've got this, Uso." Like, just it could be as simple as that.
I think,
or just say nothing, even just a hug, just that moment. You then reminded as a fan, just as Jey's about to go out, that's why he's angry. That, like, not only is he doing this for the title, he's doing it for his brother, and having that just before he comes out, I think would get the emotions of everyone in the room to a new level. So when things get tougher and when Gunther's possibly about to win, we all feel it that little bit more.
Yeah. I also I after watching that last night, my first thought that came into my mind after it, or one of the first thoughts I should say, was I think we need Sammy to come in the next couple of weeks and give him a bit of a rah speech as well. Not necessarily to not necessarily to do the same thing as Jimmy, but just to be like, look, you've seen what he's done to Jimmy, you've seen what he can do to anybody. I'm the only guy that's beaten him for a title in this company. Like, I know how hard it is, and we haven't seen Sammy since the KO incident. So if he's going to appear, like, this is kind of the only thing he's going to appear for, I think. I don't think we're going to see him elsewhere. And just when you said there about the whole seeing Jimmy before the match, I could see him hugging Jimmy and then doing the high five with Sammy, and it's like, right, go get him, and then you go straight into the match. But again, I think it would be just as effective if Sammy doesn't have that speech and you see Sammy and Jimmy for the first time before that match. I think that would be I think that gets the crowd up because it's the first time they're seeing them.
I think that's the best way of doing it. Like, because I want Sammy to be off of our screens even longer, just to really play up everything that's gone on.
Yeah.
If the first appearance of both of them is at Mania, and it's like you basically you've got this, and I think we'll just, as you said, just lift that crowd that bit more to a whole new level. Bear in mind that the entire Mania crowd is going to yeet everywhere, no matter what. But I think it would just be that little bit more with that little bit more emotion if like that happens beforehand.
You know, it's funny you say that about the eating, because obviously that's been a big part of the complaints of people with Jey at the minute, is that it's gone too far into that.
Yeah.
Because of what's happened last night on Raw, and because of obviously the whole Jimmy side of things and how it's brought a more serious tone to Jey now. And hopefully, for me, I want him to go more back to that main event persona rather than the yeet. I want him sort of to meld the two together and be a bit more serious. I think there's more of an argument for him coming out at WrestleMania and not eating and being and just walking out and just being like, I'm here for business and I'm here to do it. If he beats Gunther and he wins, that's when you get the eat, and that's when you have the celebration with the title and you eating with the title. And I think that's how you, instead of it being about, I know it's WrestleMania and it's all about the big entrances, so they probably will do it. But I just think in terms of this story and the turn it's taken from last night, I think it's far more effective if you are trying to get him to be a more serious guy, for him to be like, look, it's Mania, I know it's a big thing, but I need to take this guy out for what he's done to my brother. Because
what I would like is actually something similar. And if they pull it off, because we've seen clever wrestling fans before, where, for example, when they've taken away Judas from Chris Jericho and everyone sings it anyway, as he's doing his entrance. I think what would be really cool is Jey coming through after those pep talks, coming through the crowd, not yeeting, but the crowd do it anyway.
Oh yeah, I think that's what will happen. Yeah,
if they manage to get the crowd to Pavlovian dog just do it anyway, and Jey doesn't, he just walks down the ramp, like obviously, like, you know, he can still like high five the kids and whatever, because, you know, the kids love him, and, you know, still needs to act like a baby face, but, you know, if he's that more serious, just walking down the ramp, just high-fiving people, and they're the ones eating, now that is an image of that, just like, Jey's ready, but the crowd are still behind him. Like, the crowd, like, you know, just because Jey's more serious does not mean that the crowd have stopped being behind him. If anything, they're more so, because they're doing it without the commands coming from Jey. I think that would be a really cool visual of Jey just halfway down the ramp, not yeeting, stops, and you just see the crowd bopping. Would be an awesome image.
Yeah.
And as you said, like after it, because I think I do agree with you that everyone agrees right hand man Jey and the first early main event Jey is the best version of Jey.
Mm-hmm.
That serious, like for me, it's always been the promos. That's the biggest change for me. It's not the yeeting, it's not the catchphrases, it's not this. It's and I know a lot of people online. It is that that's the issue, but I think the issue I've had is they've changed his promos. They've changed the way he comes across in a promo of like it's just always just like oos, yeet, yeet, yeet. And it's like, no. The best version of him was this serious, like looking down the camera, like deadpan, walking from side to side, like hand next to the mic, like really putting his point. That is the Jey Uso we all got behind.
Yeah.
That's the version that we all know and love and that everyone loves. Like, as you said, if they can mount the two together where they don't get rid of the catchphrase, but they just make him more serious in his promos and stuff, which I do think will happen naturally when he wins the world title anyway. I just think that is where you would build the perfect version of Jey. And I think bringing Jimmy into this and has completely revolutionized this feud. It did start to stagnate because I don't know why, but they made both of the Royal Rumble winners announce their Mania opponents way too early, to the point where it was 8 weeks of a build to a title that you know is not going to change hands. You know, Gunther's not going to lose his, and Tiffy wasn't going to lose hers. And that's then caused a problem because you can't build a feud over 8 weeks without once laying a finger on each other or having a match in between. Like efficiently, you just can't. Like as wrestling fans, we don't have enough patience, but also you run out of ideas. And the issue is, I felt like the whole reason they brought A-Town Down Under in was because they ran out of ideas.
They needed something for him to hit, basically.
Yeah, they needed filler. They needed someone for Jey to beat up on the way to Mania. And I think that's where the frustration has come from. I think the actual online discourse, I think, has been aimed at Jey, and it's not Jey. I think it's massively the booking. I think it's just they ran out of ideas of how to push this Gunther feud forward, so gave him a filler thing in the middle. And then I don't know who came up with it, but the idea and fair play to Jimmy, because I really, really believe that Jimmy was in line for that US title shot. At Mania. And I think, I don't know whose idea, but that's going to have been sacrificed. He's not going to turn up until at least Mania, if not until after Mania. So I think someone has obviously come up with the idea, and they've been willing to sacrifice Jimmy's singles push to help his brother out with this one, because this has lit a fuse under it. This has lit a fire under everything, because now everyone cares, because it makes Gunther look like a beast. Again, you know, the one thing that's been missing in his world title run, I think, in my opinion, is the fact that he's felt like Gunther, but like a B-Tech version of Gunther that's not the ruthless side that we all know and love. This is the ruthless side. This is the ruthless Gunther that gives but it just doesn't care. He doesn't care. He doesn't give a rat's ass about anyone. All he cares about is keeping the title on him. Then you've brought back the Jey that we all know, and it's all because they've been willing to sacrifice Jimmy's own push for this.
The last point I'll make on it then is, I think the next couple of weeks are very important as to the outcome of this match, because I think over the past few weeks, because of how it's been going and the growing discourse amongst the fans with everything that was going on, I think there was a real possibility that Gunther ends up keeping the belt. And I think this reaction and not reaction. I think the aftermath of this is going to be very important, because I think what this has done, I know in my mind anyway, certainly, is it's given me a reason to want Jey to win. Like, there wasn't, other than obviously liking Jey as a performer and liking him as a wrestler, I don't have any reason to there's no history for me to like him to build up to it in this feud. Obviously, there's the history of the bloodline and everything else going beyond that, which again adds to why I like Jey as a performer.
Mm-hmm.
But this like section or segment or whatever you want to call it gave me a reason to want Jey to pull through and beat Gunther, whilst we haven't had that yet.
Yeah.
And I think we finally got that last night. Now, the next couple of weeks, if we get the reaction from Jey and he does something to retaliate, like he could, I don't know, attack Ludwig or do something like that. Like he got eye for an eye sort of thing. Like if he does something like that, then it's like, right, okay, we're on now. Like if he reciprocates what Gunther's done, we're in a proper feud. And I think that's a great place to be. So yeah, so we'll have to wait and see how that goes in terms of the feud, because again, we've got 2 weeks or 2 Raws and 3 SmackDowns left. Although I don't think they'll probably won't be on SmackDown, I would imagine, because that's obviously saved for other things heading into WrestleMania. So yeah, we'll see where it ends up. As always, folks, if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and we'll catch you on the next one.